Police in Hamilton say they're investigating a deadly stabbing they believe was unprovoked. Nama Weingarten takes us there.
Paddle's Tavern, a well-known local bar in Hamilton's East End, now marks the site of the city's 10th homicide. Police say they were called at roughly 1:45 a.m. Saturday night for reports of a stabbing. They since identified the victim as 34-year-old Shah Ghafouri. The suspect, a 28-year-old man from St. Catharines, was arrested on the scene and charged with second-degree murder. Police tell us they don't believe the two of them knew each other.
At this point, we've interviewed a number of witnesses that were at the scene, and we do not believe it was provoked, so we don't know why this happened.
Police say that before the stabbing, the suspect and Ghafouri were sitting inside the bar. They tell us the suspect then left, with Ghafouri exiting after him. That's when he was stabbed in his upper body and later died in hospital. A woman who knew Ghafouri from the bar tells us she's puzzled by what happened.
Last conversation we had was actually Friday evening, and I gave him a hug. Very quiet, very kind gentleman. Not sure why anybody would do this, but it's taken a toll on everybody who knows him. I've had a couple friends even just came by last night when everything happened, and we had a little moment there.
This marks the second time in the past few months there's been a violent altercation around this bar. In August, two men in their 20s were injured in a shooting in the parking lot. People who live nearby described the bar as a hotspot for drug deals. Meanwhile, one of the bar's owners told us they have no knowledge of drug deals operating in the site and that people simply blame the bar for the bad things happening in the neighborhood. They wouldn't go on camera, but they told us the suspect had one beer while he was there and acted nicely. Police say they plan to notify Ontario's Alcohol and Gaming Commission about their investigation.
That is one of the routes that we will take. We can do enforcement ourselves as police and go in and make sure that it's operating according to its license and serving properly.
Police are calling for anyone with information about this recent homicide to contact them. Nama Weingarten, CBC News, Hamilton.
Taking you to Brampton next, where a woman and two children were taken to hospital after this crash Saturday night. It's unclear what led to the impact between the car and a tractor trailer. In their latest update, Peel police say one child remains in hospital in stable condition. Canada Post and the union representing its workers met this weekend in hearings held by the Canadian Labour Board, all to figure out if an agreement can be made by the end of the year.
It seems like Canada Post thinks the ruling will be made any day because they already have informed their customers and our members that they'll be returning to work shortly. That does not mean we will be returning to work. The union will evaluate the decision of the CRB and make a decision from there.
Labour Minister Steve McKinnon has told the board to issue a back-to-work order to workers if it finds an agreement won't be reached in time, using Section 107 of the Labour Code to do it. In a statement today, Canada Post saying the board could extend the existing collective agreement to May 2025, adding, quote, "Well, this process is ongoing. There's no change to the current labour situation and our operations remain closed. Details of the company's startup plan will be posted on its website when ready. The government expects a decision Monday or Tuesday." The threat of tariffs from the U.S. has got premiers across the country concerned. They're gathering in Mississauga, trying to come up with a plan on how to best approach that threat. Olivia Stefanovic is there.
Provincial and territorial leaders off to dinner with smiles.
Well, it's great to have all the premiers here in town.
But on the menu, tough talk and tougher choices over what to do about U.S. threats to the Canadian economy.
We have to make sure that we have a position of strength, not a position of weakness.
Premiers are meeting for the first time in person since Donald Trump warned of 25% tariffs on Canadian goods unless security at the border is tightened.
We have to be ready. We really have to be ready and ensure that as Canadians that we're united.
But they don't all agree on the same approach. Ontario taking a hard line, threatening to cut energy exports to the U.S. BC warns it could do the same.
The province of Ontario and the country must be ready with a robust suite of actions to respond.
Others caution against countermeasures.
I don't think a trade war is good for Canada. It's not good for the United States.
some even calling for an early federal election.
That's part of the reason why we don't have a coherent strategy when it comes to trade, because you need to have a government that can say, I'm here for the next 4 years. You got to deal with me.
New Brunswick's new Liberal premier says heading to the polls before Trump's inauguration would be a bad idea.
Certainly, if I were the coach of the team, it wouldn't be the time to change the captain when you're going into Game 7.
With the sticking points threatening to cause further divisions, this premier is urging his colleagues to stay focused on what's best for Team Canada.
I have full faith in terms of our ability to share and debate those differences. But at the end, we're all here to have a better country, to really do what we can as premiers to come together, especially during the hardest of times.
There's also talk of more ads, with New Brunswick's premier saying she's in talk with the federal government on developing a national message that can be played to Americans so as many people in the U.S. hear about Canada's position. Olivia Stefanovich, CBC News, Mississauga, Ontario.
No question, we'll likely hear about the U.S. tariff threats tomorrow as the federal Liberals table their fall economic statement. It's also expected to show a hefty deficit. JP Tasker has a preview.
The federal government sees trouble on the horizon for the Canadian economy.
I really want to underscore for Canadians the fact that we are living in challenging times.
The unemployment rate has just ticked up to nearly 7%, its highest level in years.
Tariff!
And President-elect Donald Trump's tariffs have the potential to throw Canada's economy into a tailspin. All of this as Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland prepares to present a fiscal update on Monday.
I believe, particularly now, at a time of significant national peril, other parties in Parliament should not be looking at these measures as something partisan.
Government sources say those measures will include a new program to jumpstart economic growth and fight back against Trump's America First agenda, which could pull investment out of Canada. All of it will be costly, sources say, and Freeland's promise to keep the deficit at $40 billion or less won't be met.
Things are not great, and there are lots of threats coming at us, especially obviously from the U.S.
This former Liberal advisor says the government has mismanaged the country's finances.
And that's what I'm seeing right now. A government that's really lost control of its spending, and a government that is losing control of its fiscal framework.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre says the country can handle a bigger deficit.
Stop. Just stop. Stop adding inflationary spending that balloons the cost of living.
But sources say there's a big ticket item coming that might garner some conservative support. A $1 billion border package to appease Trump and his concerns about drugs and migrants.
An increase in technology in that space would certainly be helpful for us.
Government sources say this mini budget would have looked a lot different if Trump hadn't won. Much of it was sketched out after his victory in November. JP Tasker, CBC News, Ottawa.
Toronto swimmers Summer McIntosh just can't be stopped. Once again this weekend, crushing the competition, smashing records, and bringing home 2 big awards. Lorenda Redekop has more on her latest splash on the world stage.
Summer McIntosh's world record performance.
6 days of competition, one winning performance after another.
Here's the touch. She's done it.
Canada's Summer McIntosh took home 3 gold medals, shattering the world record each time at the World Aquatics Swimming Championships.
So yeah, I mean, overall, I think this is definitely now my favorite pool, I would say.
This is just ridiculous.
It was her first major meet since the Paris Olympics, where she took home 4 medals, including 3 gold.
To me, this is the first stepping stone toward LA 2028, and this is her way to prove that she's not going anywhere, and the next 4 years have the potential to be even better.
World Aquatics named McIntosh Female Athlete of the Year. Not the only honor this week. Also, good news from back home.
Oh, wow, thank you so much.
Winning Top Canadian Athlete of the Year. An emotional moment for her parents. Keep in mind, she's only 18 years old.
It's unbelievable. We're so proud of Summer and all the hard work that she's done.
One event McIntosh didn't win at these championships, the 200-meter backstroke. She placed second.
This is just a great motivator for next time I'm training and I'm hurting and I just remember things like this and remember what it feels like to get silver.
But this was also her first time ever competing in the event internationally.
I think it gives a bit more fire in the sense of like, okay, I am now putting my name in the hat for an event that I haven't done before, but I have room for improvement, I have room to grow, but I can start to kind of scare the rest of the competition a little bit.
Possibly, she says, a race McIntosh will pick up for the next Olympics. Still more than 3 years away, when McIntosh could be swimming at her peak. Lorenda Redicomp, CBC News, Toronto.
Ward Anderson joining us tonight for our first look at the forecast. You told us it would be cold and wet today. Boy, was it ever. There's also some weather warnings in place for far northern Ontario.
Well, Shannon, it's going to get a little warmer, but unfortunately, there's going to be more rain coming with it. It's already been a little milder, or it's a little milder out now than we're used to this time of year. I mean, look at this right now. Going into Monday, we're talking about 7 degrees in Toronto, 6 higher than we're used to. It's going to be feeling a lot more like the first week of November for the next several days than it's going to be feeling like December. But like I said, there is rain coming through, and it's really not that it's a significant amount of rain. We're not looking at the freezing rain threat that we had before, but mostly what you're looking at is this right here and this right here. So just after noon, this system will make its way from Windsor up through our southern border and all the way to the east, but it's going to hit right around 5 o'clock. You're talking about your drive time for much of the province. Here it is again coming through, like I said, right around noon. It'll start to make its way through Windsor and all the way up across and through the east, and that's going to affect your drive time commute for a lot of you. At the end of the day, we're not talking about a whole lot of rain, probably only looking at about 15 to 20 millimeters around the Golden Horseshoe, but it's going to be a wet one, and it's going to get cooler as we get into the rest of the week.
Okay, we'll talk to you in a little bit. Thanks, Ward. Peel Public Health is confirming a case of the measles and warning people may have been exposed if they traveled through Pearson Airport or boarded 2 flights.
We know the infection was acquired internationally. You can see the original flight destination was Kabul to Turkey and then Turkey to Canada. So most likely in their original in the country where they were visiting. That is the most common way for measles to be acquired in Canada, is through international travel and then people returning to Canada from their international travel. But we are starting to see more cases of measles acquired in Canada as well.
Health officials say the province saw 100 cases of the illness from 2013 to 2023, but in just this year alone, Ontario has had more than 50 cases, mostly in children. If you suspect you or your child has measles, doctors say first call your family doctor or walk-in clinic to avoid getting anyone else sick and to get medical treatment. Doctors also recommending following up with vaccines that may have been missed by COVID school closures. A Drake fan is $10,000 richer after taking part in a look-alike contest this weekend in Toronto.
This is actually crazy. I was gonna come before I knew there was money involved, and now that I'm here and there's money involved, I feel like so gassed. Like I won 10K and I look like Drake. Like this is funny.
Yeah, she was one of many Drake lookalikes vying for the top prize after wowing the judges. The first call she made was to her granny, she says, who couldn't believe the news. Chambers plans to spend the 10K on new clothes and good food. As part of the prize, Drake himself has promised he'll give her a call. Usually, she says she keeps her phone on Do Not Disturb, but for the superstar, she'll definitely pick up. We are heading into a quick break now. We're back with you in 3 minutes. Members of the Jewish community gathering today for an early Hanukkah gathering in Toronto. A special menorah lighting was done in honor of the Israeli hostages held in Gaza and to call for their release. Organizers say they hope the event is a powerful reminder that even in dark times, hope and unity endure. The war in Gaza began with Hamas-led militants storming into southern Israel on October 7th, 2023, killing about 1,200 people, according to Israeli authorities, and taking around 250 people hostage. About 100 hostages are still being held inside Gaza. About 2/3 are believed to be alive. Overseas in Gaza, medics say Israeli strikes killed at least 53 people today, including an Al Jazeera journalist and rescue workers. One strike hitting a shelter housing displaced families. Medics say at least 20 people were killed. Other strikes reportedly leveled houses, and in the north, residents said troops stormed a school sheltering civilians. The Israeli military says dozens of militants were killed or captured in today's attacks. People coming together to pay tribute to John Horgan. The former BC Premier died last month from cancer. He served in BC's legislature for nearly 20 years. Katie DeRosa has more on the legacy he leaves behind.
2,500 people gathered outside Victoria to say goodbye to John Horgan, former BC Premier, a mentor, and a father.
Take some strength holding my hand.
Tributes from his two sons, tinged with grief.
I'll see your hand make the salute to prosper and live long.
He was any number of things to any number of people. To Nate and I, he was never anything more than just Dad.
Family were joined by friends, former colleagues, and Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, all celebrating the life of BC's longest-serving NDP Premier.
That was John. Quick-witted, brilliant, but unflinching in his values and beliefs.
After stepping down as Premier, Horgan was tapped by Trudeau to be Canada's ambassador to Germany.
Man, he left politics more popular than when he entered.
In the crowd were not just political allies, but also former rivals.
Premier Dad, the People's Premier, and John from Langford became his monikers. He was one of the most popular premiers we've ever seen, respected and loved by people across the political spectrum.
Up on stage, symbols of Horgan's devotion to sports, science fiction, and his Irish heritage.
John would never pass up an opportunity to mention that he was Irish.
Horgan died at age 65, just over a month ago, following his third bout with cancer. His loss was sudden.
I had 34 happy years with my dad, but I thought I'd get 34 more.
Horgan's final message for BC, told to the crowd by his son.
And he said, just tell everyone I did my level best. I love my dad very much, and the world feels emptier without him in it.
Katie DeRosa, CBC News, Colwood, BC.
I feel like it's a good thing to help others in their possible needs. And
the spirit of giving in full force this season as dozens of volunteers deliver winter essentials to people experiencing homelessness. We'll bring you that story next. Plus, more than 50 volunteers coming together at the Regent Park Community Centre, giving out thousands of winter essentials to those in need. It's all part of Operation Head to Toe, an effort led by a grassroots charity that's been working to make a difference since 2018.
Non-for-profit organization that we started in 2019. We crowdfund to create care packages, and we also gather winter clothing so we can give it out to the people in need. Everybody knows that this year has been a lot tougher financially as a whole for pretty much everybody, so it is important. But not only that, around Christmas we're always go, go, go. So it's nice to kind of take a minute and understand how lucky we are, and that not a lot of people are in the same position, and if we can give back, why not, right? Our goal this year was to raise $10,000. We were short of $10,000, but we were able to create about 250 care packages, as well as winter clothing, so jackets, hats, scarves. We had the Blue Jays donate hats to us as well for our care packages. Just to help spread love and kindness throughout the city during this time is really something, as a gentle reminder for everyone to spread a little cheer during this time.
I feel like it's a good thing to help others in their possible needs, and I feel it's a pretty good thing to help, like, donate to people who need it.
Ward Anderson is back talking about a rainy morning. Hey, Ward.
Well, Shannon, it's not going to be as frigid as it was at the end of last week, but we're going to have milder temperatures going into this week. Unfortunately, there is going to be some rain coming with it. But looking at Monday, you can see it's going to be across the province. You're looking at warmer temperatures. In fact, instead of feeling like the middle of December, it's going to be feeling more like the first week of November. But there will be precipitation coming with it. You can see that rain is going to come across the province, starting over there in Thunder Bay. And around noon, we're talking about in Windsor, and then making its way through London and then east right there across the province, ending up in our nation's capital by tomorrow night. So you can see here coming through, the big thing to focus on, it's not a lot of rain, but it's when it's coming through right around your evening commute, right around 5 o'clock for much of the province. This rain will be coming down, and like I said, that'll continue straight into the night. We're not talking about a major washout. It's more about when it's coming through that nighttime, that rush hour. And you know, it's not nice to drive in any kind of weather in Ontario, much less inclement weather, but we are talking about maybe about 15 to 20 millimeters around the Golden Horseshoe by the time that's over. And then as we go into Tuesday, still have those milder temperatures that we're talking about. That precipitation will have moved its way east and it'll be making its way over to the Maritimes, but temperatures are going to start dropping. We're going to have this nice few days right up into midweek. It's going to feel milder, like I said, feeling more like November. And then we've got Arctic temperatures coming, a blast coming through. And by the time we get into the weekend, then it's going to really start feeling like December as we get up closer to Christmas. And that's what you're looking at going into Monday.
Okay, thanks, Ward. And we want to bring you some breaking news now. Canada Post says operations will resume on Tuesday, December 17th. That's after the Canada Industrial Relations Board ordered a return to work. Now, the board has determined negotiations are at an impasse after 2 days of hearing. What we're seeing on the wires is that Canada Post says it has agreed with the Canadian Union of Postal Workers to implement a 5% wage increase that'll be retroactive to the day after the collective agreements expired. Obviously, much more details expected on this story. Keep it on our website, and you can watch our coverage tomorrow for the latest. That's our show for you tonight. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you again soon.